Hello, everyone. Welcome to Decoding Downtowns, brought to you by Vistity. In this podcast, we dive deep with leaders from business improvement districts across the nation, revealing the strategies that are shaping the future of urban development and economic growth. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. It's Jamie Schwartzman. Today, my guest is Kathleen Rawson. Very excited to talk to her today. She is president and CEO of the Hollywood Partnership in Hollywood, California. She also is a commissioner for the Los Angeles Tourism Commission that handles the greater LA area, and she's a commissioner for the Los Angeles Economic Development Corporation. She has tremendous insights, a tremendous amount of experience. I'm so excited to speak with her today. Kathleen, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm great, Jamie. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with Hollywood, the Hollywood Partnership. Tell us so many of us, I'm a local, so I know Hollywood, but tell us maybe some of the other people a little bit about Hollywood and what makes that district unique.
Well, I think it's safe to say that Hollywood, California is Los Angeles's brand. We are what people think. If you're in Iceland, Jamie, and you're like traveling around and say, where are you from? You're from LA. And people say, oh, Hollywood. And so it is an iconic place that is filled with culture and traditions and just in a really important creative district that, frankly, is still alive and well. The creative class is absolutely doing their work here in Hollywood. So it's past and present. And it makes the area quite exciting.
And then are there different organizations in Hollywood? Tell us a little bit about how Hollywood works.
Well, such a good question. As you know, I came from Santa Monica, which is, you can walk down the street and run into the mayor. LA is a behemoth. It is a massive, massive place, not only in its government and its county, but the vastness of the space itself makes you sort of I feel like I'm playing in the big sandbox, frankly, moving from Santa Monica to Los Angeles. So I think that it's a place now that actually, Jamie, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. So, what I'm saying is like, talk to me a little bit about Hollywood and how Hollywood operates different, neighborhoods in Hollywood. And are there other business districts in that area that you share with?
Yeah, so Hollywood is our area is a defined space of 80 blocks, which encompasses the iconic Walk of Fame on Hollywood Boulevard, and then there's actually it's a cross. Actually, it also goes down Vine, and so our area is quite vast in terms of the actual size of a business improvement district in Hollywood. There's also a media district bid. There's a little East Hollywood bid that's a clean and safe organization. But the only overlapping professional organization in Hollywood is the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. And so it's the Chamber and us who are really the spokespeople for this area. And by the way, we have 5 neighborhood councils, very, very active residential community here as well.
So the area is not only where it's movie production, this is also a vibrant area for dining. There's a lot of office there. It's a lot of different activities going on in the district, right?
It's a true neighborhood. So we have probably the most density in Los Angeles. Not probably, we do have the most density in Los Angeles. And we rival actually Brooklyn in New York. We have so many people per square mile. And so, yes, it's a vibrant dining community, live theater, movies, as I mentioned, office and the entertainment community. We have a huge number of studios that are thriving here. Netflix is one of the biggest organizations that is actually doing production in Hollywood. So it's truly one of a kind. It's amazingly dynamic.
So you also serve on the 5-member board of commissioners for the LA City Tourism Department. Can you explain what that entails?
Gosh, I've been on a year, and what does it entail? It's so interesting because we have been, I was going to say fighting, but let's say advocating for the expansion and remodeling of the convention center in downtown LA. And it's important because we really do rely on tourism and convention business to push then the vibrancy all throughout the Los Angeles region. So we've been quite preoccupied with that, but we are the organization that oversees the Los Angeles Tourism Bureau and the Tourism Marketing District. So they all report up to the 5 members, of which I am one. And so it's very interesting. Tourism is one of Los Angeles's only imports, meaning all the money that comes in through tourism is money that, we haven't had to spend ourselves. It's not our residents' money. So it's an incredibly important piece of our economy. And so that convention center expansion, and I've spent so many hours on the phone and talking with different council people to make sure that moved forward. And we got our positive vote last week. So that's been the focus.
I see. Tell me a little bit more about the project. Does that look like it is going to happen?
Yes. The LA's under a tight budget year. Listen now, Jamie, I've been in this business 30 years. I think there's been 29 of them that have been tough budget years. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, right? But the project itself is a modernization of the convention center. And so places like Vegas or Dallas, they put a lot of money into their convention center. And there was this hypothesis that conventions were going to be a thing of the past post-COVID. Well, that's not true, right? We're living in a world of pretty lonely people. We still really want to be together, especially like-minded people. You and I get together at the California Downtown Association Conference or the International Downtown Association Conference because we want to have this dialogue back and forth. That's here to stay. So the city putting the effort into this first phase of the feasibility study, it was a great vote. One of the challenges here is that the Olympics seems to be a magic time frame that it has to be done by the Olympics. I think we'll get there, but a couple of people use that as a reason to not support it as robustly as, frankly, I thought they should. But the majority came around, and that's what's important.
And the Olympics are coming soon, right? 2028?
2028. But before that, we have FIFA, and we have Super Bowl, and we've got the Olympics, and we got a lot of work to do in Hollywood because we're not ready for company.
So a lot of eyes on LA, a lot of eyes on Hollywood.
100%.
Hey, tell us a little bit first about the Hollywood Partnership organization, how it's structured, how it's financed.
So we are a property-based improvement district, a PBID. It was established, a small section, it expanded over the years, was first established in 1996 and did the first year of service in 97. Over the years, it evolved and actually encompassed 2 different property improvement districts. One was on Sunset and Hollywood Boulevard. Those 2 combined in 2018. And so together, as I mentioned, we have 80 blocks, including the famous Walk of Fame. So we span La Brea on Hollywood Boulevard to the freeway and then on Vine from Franklin down to Santa Monica Boulevard. That all told is about $9.2 million, which isn't nearly enough for 80 blocks. Not nearly enough. We have a lot of people, 11 million people to the Walk of Fame alone annually. And so that's a lot of spilled frappuccinos, if you know what I mean, right? Creates this muck that you have to clean up. So that's how we're funded primarily. Those are our assessments. The second thing, though, is we have a 501c3, which is was put on paper when I started. I don't think I mentioned I started about 2.5 years ago, and it was active on paper. They'd gotten the filings done, but they hadn't actually activated it yet. And in the 2.5 years that I've been here, the team and I have been able to bring an additional, actually more than $5 million for projects that are happening in and around the Hollywood area. So those are 2 main sources of income right now. We have a small fundraising event. It's small though, $40,000, $50,000 first year. We only had 1 year So we'll see what happens this year. And then we're about to launch a new revenue stream that is pretty exciting to bring us. We need some systemic change in this neighborhood, so that's what we're trying to do.
Can you tell us about that program at all?
Well, since you asked, I'd be happy to tell you about the program. So $9.2 million is for operating mostly. 80% of that money goes to clean and safe. So that leaves almost no money for economic development or marketing or any of those.
How big is the headcount, just to get a sense of the size of the team in Safe and Clean?
Oh, I have 75 ambassadors out there, plus a management team, and then my team internally is 8.
A lot of people.
Yeah, but everybody's overworked because we're doing a lot of things. We really need double or triple that for sure on the ambassador side. So we are we're in the feasibility study right now, launching a tourism improvement district. What is that, you ask? It is a special district in Hollywood specifically that is a surcharge on sale. So say you and I go out for coffee, Jamie. We pay the price of the coffee. We pay the sales tax. Sometimes there's a gratuity on the check. We pay that. But in Hollywood, if this passes, it'll have another line that says TID, and there'd be another 1% to 3%. So nominal to the consumer, really. 1% to 3% on that bill. That money is collected and brought into the organization. That means that if it was raised in 90028, it's redeployed in 90028 and doesn't go into the city's general fund. Really, really important. This brings another $10 to $20 million into the neighborhood that will make a fundamental difference in how clean and bright this neighborhood is. Now, Los Angeles is probably textbook in terms of infrastructure, deferred maintenance on infrastructure, crushed curbs, lighting, tree trimming, just, so much of the basics. And if we're able to just put that money back into the district, it will make a fundamental change. Overnight, no, but within weeks, yes. And people will see it immediately. And I'm really excited about the concept. It's a 2-phase concept. We're doing feasibility now, meaning we're talking to people and saying, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, if we do it, what do you think we should spend it on? Hey, what's the right amount that we should be charging in terms of a surcharge? Those kinds of things. And those conversations are going extraordinarily well because there's been a lot of private investment. The Egyptian put in $70 million. The W put in $50 million into their assets. And their product will compete with the most exclusive neighborhoods in Los Angeles and other jurisdictions. But the neighborhood here doesn't. And so we have to invest. And that's what this is.
Interesting. Is this modeled in other urban areas?
So we're trailblazing a bit.
Great.
There's a tiny little tourism improvement district in Santa Monica. I wasn't involved in it when I was in Santa Monica, but it's just a tiny one. So it's a few of the hotels along the ocean front that spend a little bit of extra money for cleaning. It's really all cleaning the beachfront area. Most tourism improvement districts are marketing districts. So they'll go to fund the Convention and Visitors Bureaus and so forth. So there's many of those in California. There really aren't any that do this base level of service. Now, we'll still probably use some of that money for marketing and events and, those sorts of things. But a lot of the money will be on clean and safe functions. So it's kind of new. And the intrigue about it here is that really it's not on the back of the property owner. It's not on the back of the business, even though the business collects the money just like they do sales tax. It's on the back of the consumer.
Interesting. Fascinating project. Very excited to see how that goes out. How do you have a sense of when you think something like this might be implemented?
If everything goes swimmingly, which you know how that goes, right?
Yes.
But if everything goes well, we could see our first funds come into the district in a year.
Wow, that is really an exciting program. And it makes a lot of sense too, because it derives the funds directly from sales in the area. And it sounds like you can keep that assessment very low.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is it's not going to hit like the residential consumer. So we're not expecting this to be on groceries. Like if you go to Trader Joe's, you're not going to pay the tip. But if you're going to buy a cup of coffee at a Starbucks, you will. You're not going to pay it on a car you buy. So one of the questions is this too much of an assessment to push somebody into another neighborhood to make their purchases? As long as it's on purchases like a movie ticket or a cup of coffee, no, nobody's going to make any decision based upon that. If you're buying a car, you might. But as most people know, if you buy a major appliance or a major vehicle like that, your home zip code is your rate of taxation. So it doesn't matter where you buy it.
I think it's a great idea. I'm really interested to see how that pans out for you. Congratulations on that huge accomplishment.
Thank you. I'm excited for the process.
Let's talk a little bit about economic development for a moment and kind of shift into that. And I'm wondering if from a data standpoint, what you guys are tracking, and not so much what are you tracking, but what do people really care about, particularly for investors and developers and the big money individuals? What are they looking at in your district?
So, as you can imagine, people are looking at trends where people are investing. We don't have a lot of sales tax information, as you know, but we are tracking real estate deals, leases. We work with CoStar to find the most recent rental numbers. We track residential, both affordable and market rate. We track vacancy rates. We do a quarterly market report that was set up by our predecessor that is a base level for tracking key things. You can find that at hollywoodpartnership.com. It's right front and center. Happy to share that. And along with that, we use Vicity, of course, on our website. We have a development map. We need to, part of this work is to be optimistic, to give people hope that there's actually something happening, because people are generally followers. They're not leaders, right? So you want to make sure that people feel like, oh, look at that. These guys are making this investment and this residential project is going up. And Bristol Farms just actually leased the ground floor in Hollywood in a new building. They got lease of the year. I'm not sure what that means, but they got lease of the year in the broker community. And you got to share that news, because there's plenty of pessimism, there's plenty of doom loop, there's plenty of negative hamster wheel. We've got to push out the good economic development news. So along with the quarterly marketer report, our website platform, which is the development map, we also have a focused PR campaign on the good news. So every time we launch the market report, we push out basically an executive summary about what it says and why to be optimistic. We push that out. And then we've got some other things up our sleeve specifically for Hollywood that we'll be working on with economic development, particularly if the TID passes, then we'll have the funds to be able to implement some of this stuff.
Interesting. So do you think that the way that people are consuming this information and this data is changing?
They're paying more attention to it, I think. Because in some ways, Hollywood also, as famous as it is, it has a lot of stigma, which some deserve, some not deserved. But I'm looking around here saying, why the hell is a 1,500 square foot space not leased on Hollywood and Vine. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why? Why? Literally walking past the front door, 11 million people a year. And some of it is sort of this, we're our own worst enemy, passing bad stuff along, right? And so the market report, the work we do with the data dispels that. And I think that's part of our job, right, Jamie, that we really need to say, yeah, you might be hearing that. Don't get your news from TikTok. Get your news from real data.
Right. So telling the story, generating momentum, and trying to really give people the same level of insights that you have by being there.
Yes. And recognizing where we're falling short and really trying to bridge the gap in that. We've gotten such amazing accomplishments done with our elected officials in Hollywood over the last 2 years. And that has been a game changer. Because guess what? Elected officials want success too. If you can help them be successful, then it's a net gain for the neighborhood. And so infrastructure improvement. So we have a Hollywood, I'm calling it Access to Hollywood, but it's basically a streetscape improvement. There hasn't been any real money put into this neighborhood in decades. This shows some's coming. And that's really important news. So that, paired with our data about what's really happening, our density numbers, the residential community is so important here. Make sure that some of your leases are neighborhood serving so that there's someplace for somebody who lives here to go, right? Mm-hmm. So I have to tell you, it's one of the most exciting places I've ever been. I love this job.
So tell me a little bit about residential in your district and what's going on there. Is it growing? How many residents do you have right now? How many units in the pipeline? We don't need exact numbers, but just give me a sense of things.
Yeah. Oh, see, you're testing me now, right? Here's what let me give you sort of a broad brush. The residential populations here have continued to grow. Over the past decade, we've had more than a 10% increase, which is almost unprecedented for Los Angeles. We have a 96% rental population. So not a lot. Yeah, but not a lot of owner occupied, right? It's leased. That's what I'm saying. And but the sheer numbers are massive, and then the market rate housing that's coming in is so unique to this neighborhood. 1600 Vine, for example, they just did an upgrade to that property because there are so many people who create TikTok content in that particular building that they've actually created studio spaces for the residents in there. And so it's niche. It's in the middle of a lot of action. If you like nightlife, this is where to be. We're also home to an amazing number of working class folks, people who keep this place going, keep all of Los Angeles going. And so the diversity is pretty expansive. But the interest in market rate residential continues to flourish. And we've got in the pipeline, that's the most type of development we have in. The office market, just like everywhere else, is softened up, but the residential is still quite robust.
Let's talk about office. How are you guys doing office-wise right now? Are vacancy rates hurting you, or are you guys kind of holding your own?
Office sucks, really. I mean, we've got the nice thing about office in Hollywood is it isn't necessarily traditional office. So the studios, you can't call that in from home. If you're an actor, you got to be there. If you're a grip, you've got to be there. If you're, sound, you've got to be there. That stuff can't be called in. So that's the good news. The writer's strike and the actor's strike was devastating for us last year, had massive impacts in this neighborhood. In some ways, I think that's such an interesting thing to have observed, because some folks might say, oh, that all that work, all that stuff doesn't happen in Hollywood anymore. I'm here to tell you that is not true, because we felt every minute of those strikes. But a lot of our buildings, our offices are writers' buildings. So people will go in, and that's where the Netflix writers write, or the anybody who's doing content. They're skipping my mind right now, but that's what's happening here in these offices. The big 4-plate offices, they're really hurting.
So Live Nation's in your district, correct?
They are. Yep, they are. And then the other thing that's really interesting in Hollywood is that the educational piece is quite good. So Emerson College is here. We have AMDA. We have the Music Institute. So people who want to learn the creative crafts, a lot of that is centered here. That business is flourishing. It's absolutely flourishing. So we have a lot of young people in the district who are learning, how to do this important work. Yeah, even Hollywood High School, by the way, even the public high school is a magnet for the arts.
Brings in good energy, interesting people, right?
100%.
So, your district also is home to the Academy Awards and numerous debuts, street closures. How do you deal with all of that, disruption? And so tell us a little bit about what that's like.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. One of the things that I noticed right away when I came to Hollywood is that we do have a lot of premieres. We have the Academy Awards shuts down 2 or 3 blocks of the boulevard for an entire month. And most of it is set up. They can strike pretty fast, but it's a lot of disruption. We have parallel east-west streets, so people around here navigate that. But one of the things that we noticed is that almost all of the events in Hollywood are exclusive. So whether it's a movie premiere, the Academy Awards, even a star ceremony, you have to be invited. And that's not great. So while those are important events, what our organization has been trying to do, and we've done 4 of them 5 very successfully, is that we are creating events that are free and open to the public, or paid but open to the public. So for example, we have had Pride Parade return to Hollywood Boulevard the last 3 years. I was on the same day I started was the day that Christopher Street West announced they were moving the parade from West Hollywood to Hollywood. Now, that may not necessarily mean a lot to your listeners, but why it's important is that West Hollywood is a small independent city. Hollywood is Los Angeles. So West Hollywood's this tiny little spot surrounded by LA. So it was moved to LA. And as part of that, we did a free and open to the public event that was a 3-block street closure. We had community booths. We had a Ferris wheel. We had food. We had 2 stages that were really richly diverse programming. And why that's important is because everybody could come. Nobody was excluded from that. I mean, unless you were a ne'er-do-well, right? You're not welcome. And so we had great cooperation from our police department, we had good security. But it is a moment in time where we recapture some of this space that belongs to this community. So we've done it 3 years in a row. I'm so proud of it because we had more than 70%, 76% this last year of LA zip codes were represented at that event. Data again, right? Majority, minority. More than a 2-hour average stay to a free event. This is what makes my heart sing. This is what public space is really supposed to be used for. We have 0.26% of LA's park space, so virtually none. And sadly, it's not a park that any kid would ever go into. Not yet. We're working on it. A full 10% of our population is under 18 years old. And these kids need a place to stretch their legs and to play. And so recapturing some of this space, street space, for that use is really, that's where we're really making an impact in this neighborhood.
The dynamics in your district are just fascinating.
It's so fun.
Let's play make-believe for a moment and pretend that I've handed you a magic wand. You've now learned how to cast a spell to transform things in Hollywood, to promote its vitality. How would you use your magic wand in Hollywood?
Well, there's dreaming and then there's dreaming. And so the pragmatic side of me says to capture all of the political momentum around these major sporting events, capture the momentum around having a brand new county supervisor, brand new city council person, brand new mayor in LA, and their energy and enthusiasm to get things done. To use key things like the streetscape improvement, the Olympics, and Super Bowl to thrust investment, both like personal commitment to the neighborhood, but money into this district. So we do the streetscape improvement. We get the TID done. We get the city to restore base level services. We do programs that will incentivize long-standing property owners who have derelict properties with a stick or a carrot, both. I don't care. But something that really moves the needle to change the way one feels when they're in this neighborhood. I feel like we're teed up. I mean, if it was magic, I'd fill the streets with wonderful tenants, and I'd have so much lighting, and I'd probably make it 10 degrees cooler. But there's magic and there's magic. But I feel like a few of the key things that we have going for us is reason for optimism. And if we can carry optimism to this community, a community that deserves it, and continue clanging the bell about how important this neighborhood is, we will make some of these inroads. And in the next 3 to 5 years, this neighborhood will look and feel better, and something that Angelenos can be proud of, and something that they will bring their out-of-town visitors to Hollywood, because you know what? You want to have a martini at Musso and Frank, and you want to go to the Pantages, and you want to go to an EDM nightclub if that's your jam. So we're going to get there. We definitely are going to get there.
Well, I mean, the whole neighborhood has evolved so far in the last 10 years. I think about just the rise of multifamily. I think at Vistity, we profiled 18 new luxury properties, and they're still building them.
They are still building. Money's hard to come by, but all things are cyclical. So,
okay. Hey, switch hats for me for a moment. And now imagine that you're using your wand for the LA City Tourism Department. What do you think you would do there?
I definitely work on the visitor experience, which is why I wanted to infiltrate in the first place, because the sense of arrival and departure to LAX, the sense of security on public transit, the ease. And Angelenos are so hospitable. They really are. I mean, if somebody was standing in front of you looking at a map, Jamie, you'd say, hey, can I help you find something? We all do that. And so to allow some of those things to happen through programs that actually touch people on the street. I mean, think about a hospitality ambassador, or our people are cross-trained, so any ambassador in our district. But that was actually spread throughout all of Los Angeles in areas that are high tourism locations. That's what we need to do. And we need to get people who are visiting Los Angeles. Well, I want them all to come to Hollywood, and they're all going to go to Venice Beach or Santa Monica. I want them to go to Watts Towers. I want them to go to visit, Crenshaw. And I wanted to have some great food in Koreatown because you live here. That insider experience that's why we live and love Los Angeles. And so, let's lift it up. Let's lift them up.
Vibrant neighborhoods all throughout this city, and it is vast. Hey, before we wrap up, Kathleen, tell the listeners how they can keep their eyes on what's going on in Hollywood and in the LA City Tourism Department.
Yeah, I think in Hollywood, definitely HollywoodPartnership.com. And you can sign up for our newsletter. We don't blast you. We only send 2 a month, but it gives you a highlight of not only what's happening in the neighborhood, but what's happening in the organization. So if you're interested in the TID, for example, and that progress, our board agendas and minutes and so forth are always on there. But I also have a CEO report that tells you, like, what's Kathleen up to? What's the team up to? And we talk about that every single month. So that's one way. You can email me, Kathleen at HollywoodPartnership.com. I welcome anybody. Clearly, I can talk about this stuff ad nauseum. I live and breathe this, so I love talking about it. I love helping people in different neighborhoods. I certainly am far from knowing everything, far, far, far from it, but I've made a lot of mistakes. So I'm happy to share what's worked and what hasn't worked in this neighborhood or in Santa Monica. So those are the 2 best ways to keep in touch.
Great. Kathleen, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I know your schedule is so busy. Taking time to talk about this stuff hopefully is going to help some of our listeners understand the dynamics that you're facing and that are going on in the city of Los Angeles and in Hollywood, California. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in again to Decoding Downtowns. We'd also like to thank Vistity for sponsoring the podcast. And until then, keep exploring and innovating in your district.
Thank you for joining us today for Decoding Downtowns. If you've enjoyed our podcast, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's brought to you by Vistity, the leading geospatial visualization platform for data-driven decisions. Stay connected, stay informed, and let's continue to shape the future of our cities together. Until next time, I'm Jamie Schwartzman.